Okay, so get this right. Imagine, like, all the power of AI, but not on some server farm, miles away, but right there in your browser, in the same window you're watching, like cat videos in.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is how accessible this is becoming. Like, we're not talking science fiction anymore, it's real.
Totally. And, you've sent us over some great sources to unpack this, especially about this JavaScript library, Transformers.js. So before we, completely blow some minds, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What's the deal with this Hugging Face thing I keep hearing about? People say it's like the GitHub of AI, but what does that even mean?
It's a pretty accurate comparison. Just like GitHub lets programmers share their code, Hugging Face is this platform where people can share AI models, data sets, all that good stuff.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's become like a central hub, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of AI development is happening there.
Gotcha, gotcha. And it's within that world that we get these things called transformers, right?
Yep, but not the robots in disguise. Uh-huh.
Yeah, although that would be pretty awesome.
These are a specific type of machine learning model, really versatile. They're used for tons of stuff, like generating text, like in those AI writing tools, or even object detection, which is what powers those, like, Find My Keys apps that actually work now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy, right?
So the classic transformers, those were a Python thing, but now we have Transformers.js. So this is bringing that power to JavaScript, which essentially means the web. And that feels huge, but I'm kind of struggling to get how it even works.
The key is something called Onyx runtime. Think of it like a translation engine. So, the Python version of Transformers usually relies on a framework called PyTorch.
Right.
But Onyx runtime allows those same models to run in JavaScript environments. So that means both in the browser and Node.js.
Ah, I get it. So it's not just that we can run AI in the browser, but that we could tap into this huge library of already existing powerful models. Okay, now we're talking. But besides just the coolness factor, what's the big deal here? What are the real benefits?
Well, for starters, privacy. So when the AI is running locally, your sensitive data, like stuff from your webcam or even text you type, that never has to leave your device.
Right. And I was reading about this company, Include Health, that's using browser-based AI for remote physical therapy. And the pose estimation model runs right in the browser. So no patient images are ever sent to the cloud. That's a whole other level of peace of mind you don't get with the typical, server-based setup.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there. You also get offline capability, which is huge. Imagine being able to use AI-powered apps even when you have bad internet or you're traveling or something. I read about this developer, Hugo Zanini, who built a web app for product placement verification in supermarkets. And get this, it works even when he's offline.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It feels like we're barely scratching the surface of what this could do.
Yeah.
And I bet speed plays a big role too, right? No more waiting around for servers to respond.
You got it. With no back and forth to a server, browser-based AI can offer near instant performance. Think of those real-time video effects,
Right.
like the ones from MediaPipe that can track body pose and even segment the image, so breaking it down into parts like eyes, hands, all that. And they can achieve super high frame rates because all the processing is happening right there on your laptop's GPU.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing all this local processing also saves developers a bunch of money, right? No need for those huge cloud servers.
You got it. Even those large language models, the ones that power chatbots and things, they can now run directly in the browser, so developers don't have to pay for expensive cloud computing to offer AI features anymore.
Wow. And this makes those democratized AI claims feel a lot more real, huh?
It really does.
And lastly, I'd imagine all this also makes for a way smoother user experience, right?
For sure. I mean, imagine you click a link and boom, you're using a cutting-edge AI app right there. No downloads, no installations, just instant access. Kind of like what Adobe did with Photoshop Web. They brought pro-level features to, anyone on any device without the hassle of installation.
Okay, so far we've got privacy, offline access, speed, lower cost, and a better user experience. Am I missing anything? This is already a pretty amazing list.
Yeah, that's the core of it, and that's what's fueling all these creative applications that are popping up. But we haven't even talked about what people are doing with this tech yet. Ready to see what web AI can really do?
Oh, I'm definitely ready. Hit me.
Okay, let's start with something visual, something impressive. How about real-time object detection? Imagine a web app that can instantly identify objects using your webcam. Remember that hot dog detection app that went viral a while back?
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
Right.
But it also makes you think about the potential, if it can recognize a hot dog, what else can it do?
Exactly. The same concept can be applied to all sorts of objects. Imagine inventory management systems that can, automatically track stock, or security systems that can instantly alert you to something unusual.
And it's not just identifying things, right?
Yeah.
I was seeing demos of sentiment analysis on video frames. Basically, they're filtering videos based on what emotions are detected. Happy, excited, you name it.
Yeah, and the possibilities there are huge. Think
Yeah.
about like being able to automatically find the best moments in a super long video, or analyzing customer reactions to a new product, things like that.
Wow. Then there are those face segmentation models, the ones that can
Yes.
break down a webcam image into all the little parts. Eyes, nose, ears, everything.
It's amazing the level of detail they can achieve. This
Yeah.
could completely revolutionize those virtual makeup applications, or create more realistic avatars, even help with, medical
And of
diagnoses.
course, we can't forget about the fun stuff, like games, right?
Mhm.
I saw this game called Doodle Dash, where a neural network tries to guess what you're drawing in real time. It's like playing Pictionary with this super smart computer, but right in your browser.
Exactly. And it's a perfect example of how engaging and interactive these AI-powered experiences can be. And it's not just limited to visuals either. There's Whisper Web GPU, which uses OpenAI's Whisper models to do real-time multilingual transcription and translation. So imagine watching a video in another language and having it transcribed and translated instantly, all in your browser.
That's incredible. There's another one I saw that totally blew my mind. It was doing semantic image search, but it was running completely locally using like a database of 50,000 images. And get this, it could search in under 50 milliseconds
Yeah.
using just JavaScript.
50 milliseconds.
Yeah.
That's basically instantaneous. It shows how efficient this can be,
Yeah.
even with a lot of data.
It feels like the only limit is our imagination, really. But I got to ask, how do you even get these models, which can be huge, to run smoothly in a browser? It seems like there must be some tricks involved.
Oh, for sure. One of the main techniques they use is called quantization. It's basically a way to compress the models, making them smaller and faster, which is super important for web apps.
Okay, break down this quantization thing for me. What does that even mean?
So in simple terms, it's about representing the weights of a neural network using lower precision data types. It's kind of like using smaller units of measurement, so it reduces the overall size of the data.
So you're like shrinking the file size of the model, basically.
Yep, exactly. And while there might be a slight trade-off in performance, the fact that it's smaller and faster makes it worth it, especially for web applications.
Makes sense. It's all about finding that sweet spot between power and efficiency.
Yeah.
But even with these tricks, I imagine there are still challenges when it comes to running AI in the browser, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are limitations and hurdles we need to address. For example, right now, Transformers.js has a 4GB model size limit.
So even with all this fancy compression, there's still a cap on how big those models can be.
For now, yes. And this is because of limitations in WebAssembly. That's the tech that allows code written in other languages like C++S to run in web browsers. It's a big obstacle for running some of those really powerful cutting-edge AI models, which can be much larger.
But I'm guessing developers aren't just like sitting around waiting, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
There are a ton of people working on overcoming these challenges. For example, Transformers.js v3 is coming out soon, and it includes support for Web GPU. That's a new technology that lets browsers tap into the power of a computer's graphics card way more efficiently, which leads to much faster processing of AI models.
Web GPU, I think you mentioned that earlier, right?
I did. It's a potential game changer.
So we're talking about running even bigger language models, those ones with like 70 billion parameters or more right there in our browser.
Exactly.
Okay, now that is seriously impressive. Are there other projects out there pushing these boundaries of web AI?
There are a bunch. WebLLM is focused on bringing large language models to the web, and WebSD is already running big models like Stable Diffusion, which is used for generating images right in the browser.
Wow, it sounds like things are moving really fast. So even though there are challenges, the future of web AI seems pretty bright.
It does. And it's important to remember that these aren't just cool demos or anything. This tech has the potential to totally change how we use the web and how we solve real-world problems in new ways.
Absolutely. We're not just talking about novelty here. This is about empowering users, enhancing privacy, and really pushing the limits of what's possible online. And I don't know about you, but this is the kind of stuff that gets me really excited. Hopefully you listening are feeling it too. We'll be back after a short break to talk about where this is all headed.
It's crazy to think that just a year ago, Transformers.js was this niche project, and now it's one of the fastest growing JavaScript libraries out there.
Really?
Yeah, it's pulling in something like 750,000 unique users every single month.
750,000 users. That's wild. That's a pretty clear sign that developers are catching on to this whole web AI wave.
And it's not just individual devs either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big companies are getting in on it too. Like Adobe, they're incorporating this tech into their, flagship products.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about Photoshop Web earlier and how it's bringing those, like, advanced features to the web without all the, installation headaches.
Right. Well, it turns out they're using Transformers.js behind the scenes to power some pretty key features like their object selection tool.
Wait, seriously? The one where you just, like, click and drag to select an object? Like magic.
Yep, that's the one. And by, like, shifting all that processing to the user side, they're making it way smoother and more responsive.
Right, so no more waiting around for a server to figure things out.
Exactly.
It's such a good example of how web AI is just better for the user.
Sure.
It makes these, like, complex tools feel so intuitive and almost, like, effortless to use.
Totally. And, this brings us to another important point. The reach of the web itself.
Oh, you're talking about how, like, billions of devices can access the web. It's a potential audience unlike any other.
Exactly. With web AI, we have the chance to bring these incredible capabilities to basically anyone who can get online.
Wow.
It's democratizing access to technology that used to be, restricted to like research labs and stuff.
This is giving me some serious early internet vibes. Remember when, like, websites were all just static pages?
Okay.
And then JavaScript came along and made everything dynamic and interactive, and it just changed everything. Web AI feels like it has that same revolutionary energy.
I totally agree.
And it's not just about, like, making existing sites fancier, right? This is about building completely new kinds of online experiences, ones we can barely even imagine yet.
That's the exciting part.
Okay, so I got to ask, paint me a picture of that future. What does the web look like when AI is, like, woven into the fabric of it?
Okay, well, imagine interacting with a website feels like having a conversation.
Whoa.
Okay, you ask questions in plain language, and the AI on the site, it just understands you and responds intelligently.
Hold on. Websites that can hold a conversation. So, like, I could ask a website to summarize an article for me or help me find the best product based on my needs.
That's it. And we're seeing early versions of this with things like WebLLM, which are bringing those powerful language models right into the browser.
But it goes even further, right?
Right.
Websites that respond to voice commands or analyze images or even, like, control smart home devices. It's like the web itself becomes this intelligent assistant working in the background all the time.
Now you're getting it.
And the implications of that are, like, massive. It could change how we shop, how we learn, how we work, even how we communicate with each other.
Absolutely.
It's mind-blowing, but also kind of overwhelming.
Realistically, how far away is this conversational web? Are we talking like sci-fi dreams here, or is this something we might actually experience in the next few years?
Well, there are definitely some hurdles, like those model size limits we talked about.
Right.
But with how fast this stuff is moving, I think we'll see some major breakthroughs pretty soon. So it's not a matter of if, but when. Exciting. But even before we get to, like, full-on talking websites, web AI can make those little things about our online experience better too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like what?
Think about something like CAPI CHAs, those puzzles you have to solve to prove you're not a robot. With on-device AI, websites could just verify that you're human in the background without interrupting what you're doing.
Right. So no more squinting at blurry letters or trying to click on every square that has a traffic light in it.
Exactly. It's like the AI is working behind the scenes to make everything smoother.
I like that.
And that's just one small example. Imagine AI personalizing your search results or filtering out spam or even translating websites on the fly. All that stuff.
It's like having a whole team of, like, invisible assistants just dedicated to making our online lives easier and, more enjoyable. Yeah. Sign me up.
But this all sounds pretty utopian. Are there any downsides we should be thinking about?
Of course, no tech is without its risks.
One concern is that we could see more sophisticated types of, like, online manipulation.
Oh, like personalized phishing attacks or deep fakes that are so good you can't even tell what's real.
Exactly. It's a constant cat and mouse game. As AI gets more powerful, so do the tools used for, malicious purposes.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of, like, bias in AI algorithms, which can lead to, unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
Right, like those AI hiring tools that end up favoring certain demographics, even if it's unintentional.
So it's not just about building the tech, it's about making sure we build it responsibly.
Couldn't agree more.
This is a huge responsibility for developers, but also a really incredible opportunity.
For sure.
Speaking of, what are you personally most excited about when you think about the future of web AI?
That's a good question. You know, what really gets me fired up is the potential for this to, break down barriers and really empower individuals.
Empower individuals in what way?
Think about it. Anyone with a computer and an internet connection will have access to tools that used to be, exclusive to big companies or universities.
So it's about leveling the playing field, giving everyone a chance to create and innovate.
Exactly. It gives people the ability to solve problems, build businesses, express themselves creatively in ways they just couldn't before. And that's what's really exciting to me.
It's like putting the power of AI directly into the hands of, everyday people.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too. It's a future worth fighting for.
This deep dive has been seriously eye-opening. Web AI is clearly not just some passing trend. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about the internet.
It really is.
So that about wraps up our deep dive into AI in the browser.
Yep.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it and are feeling as pumped about this tech as we are.
It's been a pleasure being here.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll have some awesome resources to share so you can start exploring the world of web AI yourself. Stick around. Welcome back. We've covered so much ground today. We started with the basics of Transformers.js, and then we dove into how it could, totally reshape the web as we know it.
It's been a wild ride for sure. And, for me, one of the coolest things about this whole web AI scene is the community around it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all these developers, researchers, hobbyists, everyone's contributing to this, super fast-moving field.
It's like this collective energy pushing things forward. Makes you wonder what they'll come up with next. Speaking of, you promised us some resources to help our listeners get started with web AI. What do you have for us?
All right, first off, we got to point folks to the Transformers.js documentation. It's seriously a goldmine. Detailed guides, tutorials, even code examples, it's all there.
Yeah, I've definitely spent my fair share of time in those docs, and they're surprisingly easy to follow, even if you're not a coding expert or anything. They're on the Hugging Face website, right?
Yep, that's the place. Just search for Transformers.js documentation, and you're good to go.
Perfect. What else?
Okay, next up, I'd highly recommend checking out the Transformers.js GitHub repository. That's where the real magic happens, the source code, discussions, bug reports, all that good stuff.
The GitHub repo.
Oh.
It's like peeking behind the curtain to see how it all works. Plus, you can connect with other developers and see what they're building.
Exactly. And if you're looking for some inspiration, definitely check out the examples folder in the repo. It's full of demos and projects that really show you what Transformers.js can do.
I love those examples.
Yeah.
It's one thing to read about it, but actually seeing it in action is what makes it click,
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about the Hugging Face Hub. It's like this giant library of pre-trained models, data sets, and other AI goodies that you can use with Transformers.js.
So it's like a buffet of AI tools. You can just try out whatever you want.
Pretty much. And the best part is most of these resources are free and open to everyone.
I love that. The barrier to entry is lower than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if you're a super experienced developer or just curious to learn. Now's a great time to start exploring web AI.
I couldn't agree more. And we can't wait to see what you create.
So that wraps up our deep dive into AI in the browser. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation and are feeling as excited about this tech as we are.
It's been awesome. And remember to check out those resources, experiment, build something cool, and most importantly, share it with the world.
And hey, while you're at it, why not share your thoughts with us too? Leave a comment down below and tell us what you're most excited about when it comes to web AI. Or even better, tell us what topics you want us to deep dive into next. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future episodes. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and, as always, keep diving deep.